quote, millstone your opponent. Millstone was a very old school card. It was a 2-mana artifact, and for 2-mana activation, you would have to tap it, and your opponent would place the top 2 cards of his or her library into the graveyard. So Ryan's plan is to actually mill all of Reid's cards and win that way with Ashiok and Traumatize and Pilfered Plans and Jace Memory Adept and amazing cards.
Yeah, all right, so we're going to see the game underway. Both players start out on tap lands. Ryan makes a Temple of Deceit, and we're going to continue from there. So is it fair to say here that Ryan, this is the test on how fast Reid can win the game? I imagine by about turn 7 or 8, Ryan should be able to get most of his deck.
I actually think this is a really good match for Ryan, surprisingly, and I'm pretty sure Reid didn't expect to play against the blue-black mill deck. And on the other hand, I didn't think Ryan expected to play against the Prime Speaker Bant deck. So really interesting, and we'll see what happens. Reid leads off with a Sylvan Carotid, which will essentially ramp his mana, see if he can maybe drop a Jace next turn.
Yeah, so we see a third land from Ryan. No milling yet. He does have a Psychic Strike and Hero's Downfall in his hand, so he is still a reactive deck to a certain degree. When I think about the ways that Ryan will proactively mill, like the sorceries that he taps out for in his list, looks like there's only a few of them. He has Mind Grind, he has Traumatize, he has Ashiok, and then Breaking and Entering.
Sure. Okay, so now Ryan decides to Psychic Strike the Pearl Conos. Do you think that's better than maybe Heroes downfalling it?
Yeah, so he had the 2 options there. He pulled the trigger on the Psychic Strike. My guess is that it really depends on what the other control cards are in it.
Sure, yeah. Yeah, and I think knowing Reid probably needed Ryan to have something there, either a removal spell or a counter spell, or maybe even both.
Right, when your opponent leads off on all blue-black lands at 3 mana and just passes the turn, it certainly is suspicious.
Exactly. Now Reid has the luxury of just playing all his come-into-play tap lands untapped and paying the 2 life. It's not going to be a big deal, especially in this matchup.
All right, so now we're going to see one of the cards we talked about, Prophet of Krufix, is going to try to come into play here for Reid. I don't know if it's going to live to Ryan's untapped.
It's actually so powerful it blurred the screen, kind of.
All right, and that's going to get actually the Doomblade and not the Hero's Downfall out of Ryan's hand. He's saving the Hero's Downfall, I think, for the possible Planeswalker.
Sure, exactly. He probably expects maybe I'll see Elspeth, maybe I'll see Jace. Who really knows?
Yeah, I mean, I think you hit it right there. There's a little bit of guessing game going on in each player because they don't really know the opponent's list. Neither of these are stock lists. I would say if you look at Reid's mana, it's probably safe to say that there's a Jace somewhere in this deck.
I mean, you see the Hollow Fountain. What do you think? Elspeth's a powerful card. We know that Reid doesn't have Elspeth in his main deck, but Ryan doesn't know that. He doesn't have the list like us. Ooh, all right, so there's another Prophet of Krufix here.
Yep. Try number 2 at Prophet of Krufix. Probably will resolve. We'll probably also meet some sort of kill spell on end step, and then the Hero's Downfall.
Okay. So now Reid's playing out most of his hands. So he's really wants to draw like a Sphinx Revelation here, so he can kind of refuel and get cards.
Yeah. So one of the things about ramp decks, which is always really scary, is that ramp decks are pretty threat light.
Yes, that is true.
And Reid, at its core, is playing a ramp deck. So what he has to try to do is bait out these kill spells with cards that are with less important cards, and the cards he's going to have to bank on, I think, are things like Jace and Sphinx's Revelation.
Yeah, I would definitely agree there. So we actually see a Mutavault side, so that's another way he could win. He could win with his Consuming Apparition, or he can win by attacking with Mutavaults.
All right, and here's one of Reid having to read. This is Pilfered Plans.
Yeah.
For those of you who didn't play Dragon's Maze Limited, this is basically just a divination, but it's a divination with a mill 2 on top of it.
Sure. Oh, there's a Plasm Capture from Reid. That's interesting. So Reid's going to have a lot of mana next turn. He's going to have access to 9 or 10 mana, I believe. So we'll see what he can do with it.
He'll have access to 9 or 10, like you said. Both cards out of Dragon's Maze. Neither of them, I'd say, particularly expected in the format.
Exactly. So does Ryan have another follow-up play? This would be a perfect time for like an Ashiok.
Yeah.
Get down the Ashiok, but it looks like he's just going to pass the turn. I think if he had Ashiok, he probably would have played it earlier as well. But
yeah, Ryan is down to 2 cards right now.
Yeah, can't really make out what's in his hand, but we'll find out soon enough.
Well, he's got to save a counter spell for something like Sphinx's Revelation.
Exactly. Yeah, he has to be worried about that. He has to be thinking Reid's playing for Sphinx's Revelation in this deck.
Right, if Reid untapped in Revelation for 6 right now, like that would be the game if Ryan can't counter it.
I mean, I don't think it would be the game, but it would be very, very bad.
Yes.
Yeah. So we'll see what Reid has here. Reid's one. Just take his time and think. He's tapping a lot here.
All right, so I think that's what we're going for. So remember, there's 3 additional plasma there. So this is an attempt at Revelation for 6,
and it resolves.
So okay, you said like you said before, it's not the game, but it's real bad.
Yeah, it definitely is bad. We already see that Reid drew another Plasm Capture, so next turn he'll be able to use that and have more counter protection.
So now he'll continue just making land drops.
Yeah, exactly.
Temple of Mystery. We see Detentions here in his hand, so some of the cards a little weaker in this matchup.
Yep. Yeah, so we'll see what Ryan could do. He's actually playing 2 main deck copies of Breaking Entering, but no red land. But did it Jace off the top?
Yeah, so I was going to say, while Reid is tapped out, the great cards from to resolve here, he just drew this turn. This is Jace Memory Adept. Like I said, Detentions here, originally I said wasn't very good in this matchup. You know, going to be pretty important right now, but it gives some game. The question would be whether he wants to mill 10 or draw cards now.
I think if he didn't have a counter in his hand, which I don't think he does, I would rather just draw the extra card and try to hit a counter spell. But it looks like Ryan's just going for the mill 10, which is also fine.
Yeah, you have to think that when your opponent drew 6, well, you at least have to be worried about the fact that he's drawn something like a Detention Sphere.
Sure, exactly. So Reid will untap now. He'll draw for his turn. And yeah, he's got a big grip there. I can't make out too much, but
yeah, I believe so. He has at least a Pelucranos in his hand, a couple more lands, including a forest, and I believe 2 Pelucranoses.
Okay.
Which, you know, the second one not as important. It's really just he needs to run Ryan out of control cards
at some point. Pelucranos or Polychronos? Reid was telling me it's called Polychronos.
It's Pelucranos.
It's Pelucranos.
Oh, I know. They're all these large Greek legendary.
Yeah. It's going to be difficult for me to pronounce all these names. But I think Reid's main plan this turn at least is to get rid of that Jace Memory. I want to get milled by 10 next turn as well, you know?
Yeah, he also has a chance to go for an Aetherling, which he has in his hand. I think you're right that if he has the Detention Sphere here, it's got to come down on Jace.
Yeah, I mean, so Reid did Revelation for 6. It's like the 7th turn of the game.
Yeah, I'm going to guess that he doesn't have the Detention Sphere. Maybe that was called wrong.
Oh, okay.
He is going to get a chance for Aetherling here, though.
Sure. So Reid probably has about 28 cards left in his deck, I think.
Yeah, he has more or less than 30.
No, it's less than 30. Yeah, okay. He definitely has less than 30.
Well, the good news is that the Aetherling, well, at least threatening lethal on the Jace. Remember, though, each kill spell that Ryan has is basically a fog.
Okay. So 1 Detention Sphere did get milled in that pile of 10 right there.
Yeah, there's only 2 in Reid's deck, so...
Yeah, exactly. So let some of the removal that he could have here. Devour Flesh won't really help at all. So basically he's hoping for a Doomblade or a Hero's Downfall to exactly fog, like you said.
Yeah. He's going to need double kill spells here because Reid does have a Plasm Capture for the first kill spell.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so that's definitely really good for Reid for him to have that second counter spell. Looks like Ryan did draw a Thoughtseize, and that's exactly what he's going to play. He's going to play a Thoughtseize here. So let's take a look at Reid's hand. Let's see if... Okay, so there was no Detention Sphere. Instead, there is a Prime Speaker Zagana. There is a 2 Polychronos. There's Plasm Capture, and there's the Bounty. Not the Sylvan Bounty.
The Primeval Bounty.
Yeah,
this Primeval Bounty is actually a 1-of in Reid's deck right now.
Yep.
So when you think about the things, his big 6s that he can ramp into, that's going to be Prime Speaker Zagana at 6, and then this Primeval Bounty. As I said, Reid, you're absolutely right. He's at 16 cards left in his deck, which means he can take 1 more hit off the Jace.
I actually had 28 perfect.
28 perfect because the Pilfered Plans was 2.
Yeah.
The Jace was 10.
Wow, I'm good. I love it. All right. So let's see. What is Reid going to do here? He's going to draw for his turn. I wonder what...
Oh, that is a draw right there.
There's a Detention Sphere.
That was... that was not there before.
I feel like Ryan must have something. I see another spell in his hand.
Yeah, and it's nothing, actually.
It's nothing?
Yeah, Ryan, the Jace was taken down by Aetherling there.
Yeah, but he has something in hand. I can't make it else. It looks like a black card.
Yeah, he has an island and then an unknown.
Yeah. So I don't really know what Ryan's plan is this game.
Well, I mean, there's a resolved Aetherling on the board. So Ryan, from looking at it from Ryan's perspective, control game seems really difficult now. So he kind of has to transition into this aggro mill plan where it's like, can I cast enough Breaking Enterings, mind grinds to just get those last 16 cards?
Yeah, I mean, and Ryan still has to fight through a Plasm Capture.
Right, he doesn't know that right now, but I think doing that through a Plasm Capture... Oh, wait, no, he does know that.
Yeah, he knows it through the Thoughtseize, and he ended up taking the Polychronos, which is kind of interesting because Reid just had double Polychronos.
Right, so now he'll go for Asia.
So it makes me think that Ryan's black card in his hand might be like a... I don't even know what.
Yeah, and I love the patience here by Reid Duke. We know he has the Plasm Capture, and he just lets Ashiok resolve right now.
Sure.
Hey, Paul, Polukranos or Aetherling can attack the Ashiok, and he can save the Plasma Capture for another card.
Yeah, the only thing Reid has to worry about is like a top deck Jace Memory Adept. That's the only card that could actually beat Reid here, but we know that Reid still has the second the Plasma Capture in his hand, is the second one of the game.
Right. To note, those two Plasma Captures are the only counter spells in Reid's main deck.
Sure. Now, does Reid have access to Gainsay? I feel like he might have.
Yeah, he does have 3. Yes. Game 2, Reid will be able to board out a fair number of these cards.
Okay. All right, so Aetherling is going after Ashiok. Polukranos is going to Ryan's head. Still not sure what that one card in his hand is. All right, so he's going to activate a Mutavault.
Yeah, that forces Reid to tap an additional land here.
Well, it looks like he's going for the block on Aetherling, but Reid has obviously priority to make it unblockable if he chooses to do so.
Right.
All right. So Reid's going to tap some mana. Is he just going to take it out with the Polukranos instead?
Yeah, it looks like using 5 to monstrous the Polukranos for 2. That's going to make it a 7/7 and an Eats Mutavault.
All right. And it looks like Ryan will be dead next turn unless he could draw something really good.
Yep. Additional 1 mana puts Aetherling up to a 5/4 to take out Ashiok.
Okay.
And that will put Ryan down to 11. Unless Reid has another land there, he has taken Plasma Capture. And there we go. Green, green, blue, blue is back up.
All right. Oh, there's a Crypt Incursion. That's what the card is.
So we'll try to... For Crypt Incursion,
yeah, so let's see how much life he's going to gain here. Basically what will happen is that for each creature in Reid's graveyard, Ryan will not only be able to remove those cards, he'll also gain 3 life for each creature.
Right, so yeah, Crypt Incursion is from Dragon's Maze. We didn't see too much play, and does exactly what you said. It exiles all the creatures in target player's graveyard, so you can do it to your opponent or yourself.
3, 6, 9, let's go. 15, 18, 21, come on, say it with 4, 27. Is it 30? Are we 30, 33, 36 life. All right. That's good.
That card gains a lot of life.
That's a lot. I mean,
you almost want to look on it in terms of turns, but that was 2 turns worth of life.
I mean, with Aetherling and yeah, it's actually 3 turns.
3 turns worth
yeah,
of
it's
life.
3 turns, so not too bad. It's pretty good because if it's 3 turns of life, that means redrawing 3 more cards, closer for him to get milled out.
I mean, Ryan did not draw a threat, but Thoughtseize is pretty good. Presuming he takes the Plasma Capture.
Yeah, now does this change the race? That's 7, 8, 15. He's on 30. No, he's way higher than 30.
Now, I want to say something. I like Reid's play of Plasma Capturing the Thoughtseize. It's like a technically correct play. But at this point, if I'm Reid, I would actually let myself get Thoughtseize. I'm not convinced that Ryan's going to take the Plasma Capture.
Maybe.
He didn't take it last time.
Sure. I believe Ryan's life total is definitely higher than 30 here.
Yeah. Well, he did just gain 36.
Yeah.
So we'll get a confirmation on that in a second.
Okay, sure.
But Reid's just going to go ahead and power out here with the Primeval Bounty.
Yep. And he's going to follow it up with what? Is he going to get counters? Okay, so he's going to make another 3/3 beast right here.
Well, I like the Primeval Bounty play. What that does, so Ryan is at 47 here, is that because of the beast and 3/3 token counters it makes, it has the potential to take a turn off Ryan's clock right now if he gets enough power or encounters on the board.
So Ryan has a decent amount of outs here. He has at least 5 outs to win in the game. Let's see. What is it? Is it a breaking entering? Ooh,
it's a water grave. Okay, missed. Turn 1's a miss.
Okay, so he has one more step here to draw. Let's see what Reid draws.
Reid has hand.
I believe he has also Prime Speaker Zagan in his hand, which he probably does not want to play. So he doesn't want to deck himself.
He doesn't want to draw more cards at this point.
All right, so Ryan has, I think, one more draw. Let's see if he can find something to win the game.
So they swing for 8, 7, and 3. So that's a total of swing for 18.
All right, so Ryan will,
take 18.
Yeah, so Memory Adapt we're hoping for, possibly another Pilfered Plans into something, Breaking Entering, Consuming Apparition might help some here.
Yeah, if he had another card in hand, Consuming Aberration would be good. I think like Mind Grind is very good.
Ooh,
and there's the Aberration.
So Ryan's on 16. Aetherling can only deal 8.
Yeah, this can actually block the Polukranos. So this has potentially bought Reid.
But Reid still has the Detention Sphere in hand. Okay, yes. Yeah. And he shows the Detention Sphere, and it looks like Reid will be taking the first game here. And this was actually a pretty nice game.
Close.
Yeah, it was definitely a close game. And it's just 2 decks you would probably see on like the kitchen table at home, right? You wouldn't really see
a ramp deck versus a mill deck.
Yeah. So, all right. So Detention Sphere will exile the Consuming Apparition for now.
Yep, and it puts 3/1/1 counters on the Aetherling, and this should be a lethal swing.
Yeah. And I think Ryan realizes that. And all right, so
All right.
good sportsmanship. Shake of the hand just after the first game. This is great. I love to see this. Reid Duke again on the left, Ryan Brown on the right. Two great players, two friendly players here as well. So this is good.
Yeah, and I think when you said that this could actually be a great matchup for Mill, that kind of played out there, at least when I watched this game. I know Reid did come out ahead on top, but it was tense from the Bant side of the board. He really only has so many relevant cards there. If Ryan was one top deck away from winning on a lot of turns in that game.
Yeah, definitely. Well, Ryan has some interesting cards in his sideboard. I'm not too sure which ones will really want to come into this matchup. I mean, Dark Betrayal, definitely not. Cyclonic Rift, maybe. Pithing Needle, again, maybe. It's pretty good against Aetherling. It's good if he knows Reid has Jace Architect of Thought. Ratchet Bomb, probably not. A couple of far and aways. I mean, those are more against maybe like the Naya Hexproof deck. So Ryan just has a couple of decent cards. Nothing really stands. What about Reid? Does he have anything that's going to really stand out besides those gainsays?
Well, I mean, he does have, like you'd said, the 3 gainsays. He can replace some of his creatures with Mist Cutter Hydras if he wants to get by counter magic. Then again, he didn't see too much counter magic, so I'm not positive he's going to make a play like that.
Sure.
There are not too many other things I'd say for him to use here.
Yeah, an extra Detention Sphere, maybe. Curse of the Swine, probably not in this matchup.
Yeah, he has actually a Curse of the Swine in the main. I can imagine that's one of the cards that will come out here.
Okay.
We may see Reid use a lot of his sideboard because he has a lot of cards in his main deck which really aren't particularly good here.
Sure.
This Curse of the Swine, which didn't do too much. I'm not positive in this matchup how much a card like Prophet of Krufix matters.
Yeah, and it was because Ryan kept destroying it. And,
right.
Maybe if you had those spells later on for the Aetherling, the Jason might have stuck around. So you know how a game's going to progress. So it's really difficult.
I think what Ryan needs to do strategically is really put a bull on just a couple cards, and those cards would be Primeval Bounty, Sphinx's Revelation, and Prime Speaker Zagana. That game really turned around when Reid untapped and Revelation for 6.
Sure.
At that point, we said it's not over, but it's real bad.
Yes.
And that, what is it? Ryan spent a Psychic Strike earlier on in the game. And the question is, maybe he didn't have to make that play.
Yeah, I mean, you never know, but it seems like Ryan will, have a decent chance for Game 2. Game 1 was so close. Ryan will be on the play, so I'm definitely looking forward to see what happens here. Besides for these 2 decks, is there another deck you're really excited about, Matthias?
Other than these 2 decks?
Yeah.
I guess in that I personally really like a lot of the Devotion decks. I like how they've been warped, how they continue to, evolve. I think that Boros aggro is still really good right now, and I'm talking the one that Ben Lundquist won one of our opens with.
It was out in California.
Yes, he won Star City LA with the deck. I think the deck's been performing really well, and that's one of the decks I'm excited to see.
That deck is essentially a mono white deck, and only splashing red for Boros Charm and a few other red cards. So it's definitely interesting. So maybe we'll be able to see that later on in the day. But again, we have Reid Duke with Prime Speaker Bant, our quote-unquote #1 ranked Star City player. If we had rankings, we would probably give it to Duke. And Ryan Brown on the right with Blue-Black Mill. So it looks like they're drawing a pretty big crowd just after the first game. We see Matthew Costa, we see Andy Boswell in the background. So maybe the standard format is quicker than people might think it is, and everyone's just finishing the match really good.
Well, there certainly are a lot of fast decks. We did see, even as recent as Grand Prix Santiago, the winning deck was Rack. That's one of those Mogus Marauder decks. Those decks are very quick if you haven't played against them yet.
Yeah.
And actually, the Boros on a white deck I think is equally fast.
Yeah, it really is. There's definitely a lot of fast decks, and if you get an Esper and Esper matchup, that's probably going to take a while. And here, as we the game took about 20 minutes, which average time for this type of matchup.
Yeah, that's about what I would expect it to be.
Okay, great. All right, so Ryan will be on the play, and hopefully both players keep their hand, and we'll have a really nice game here.
Yeah, so with Ryan's, you're talking about his sideboard, he has a lot of just really touchy cards in the sideboard. Like he has an extra Pilfered Plans, he has an
Reap Intellect,
an extra Breaking and Entering.
Trading Post.
I understand the Trading Post, but I'm wondering is when you have play cards like Breaking, Entering, or Pilfered Plans, if they're in the main deck of your mill deck, I don't really understand when you'd want more of them out of the board.
Well, maybe against control matchups, he wants to just have extra really good mill cards because he wants to take out some of his removal. Like Devour Flesh or Doomblade might not be that good, so he wants to try to swap it in and out.
Yeah, it is like playing Divination in your sideboard, though, for the Pilfered Plans.
Sure. I mean, yeah, that is true. Maybe we'll
I'm wondering what match. I mean, when you put a card in your board, that speaks to me like they're very good in a specific matchup. So presumably that would be a style matchup where you just want more divinations, would be my guess.
It might be. Maybe Ryan will win the tournament, and then
we'll
be able to, you know, and then we'll interview him, and he'll come on camera here, and he'll tell us all the secret strategies. So that would be something to look forward to for sure.
Yeah.
So Ryan's going out to 6. It looks like Reid's going to keep his hands, and we'll see if his 6-card hand is slightly better. I mean, he doesn't need that much, right? Just like a Thoughtseize, a removal spell to slow Reid down.
No, Ryan has plenty of card draw too. Like those Pilfered Plans are very good for him.
Yeah.
I guess that's the majority of his card draw.
Yeah. I mean, Jason Memory Adept could be a card draw engine.
Yeah, but as we saw, I don't think he plans to use it that way, especially as we saw last game.
Okay. All right. So it looks like Ryan is going up to 5 here. Wants to go down.
Yeah,
he's going up to 5.
Strong word. There are some cards that are really good for him on a Mull to 5, so he wants like a higher impact card. Things like Ashiok will be very good right now.
Yeah, oh, definitely, yeah. Because if Reid doesn't have an answer to Ashiok, a card just like that could actually take over the game and win the game by itself.
Right. He could, if Ryan can hit something like Ashiok immediately hitting Pelukronos, that's very good.
Yeah, definitely, because the Ashiok will still actually be in play.
Right.
The way Ashiok works, it goes from 3 to 5, and then
go to 1,
and go to 1,
yeah. Pelukronos.
Yeah. All right, let's see if his 5-card hand is a bit better. Ryan does have a nice beard. Yes.
Very stylish.
Yeah. It is No Shave November. All right, so there's a Watery Grave by Ryan, and there's a Temple Garden, and there's an Elvish Mystic. So, like we said before, Reid could go down to 18, 16, 14, 12 life is not a big deal.
Yeah, he doesn't have to care about his life total really at all. There's the only creature in Ryan's deck is Consuming Aberration and anything he gets off Ashiok.
Yeah, I mean, maybe he could randomly attack with a bunch of Mutavaults, but that's probably not going to happen.
So Reid has kept a little bit of a landlight hand. It's a very ramp-heavy hand. We see a pair of Plasm Captures, 2 mana rampers in the form of Sylvan Caryatid and Voyaging Satyr, the second land, and then the Mistcutter Hydra, which has come out of the board.
Yeah, I think the Mistcutter Hydra is probably the most devastating card here. It's one card that can actually put a lot of pressure on him, but it looks like Ryan wants to take the Sylvan Caryatid instead.
Yeah, if he has an answer in hand for the Mistcutter Hydra, that seems fine.
Sure.
I think that's the one creature he can't.
And the other thing is that he wants to keep Reid off blue mana. Oh, but look,
there
like
we
Reid
go.
Duke, like the pro he is, just draws his temple off the top, so now access to blue mana, and with the Voyaging Satyr, he'll be able to double blue. Yeah. So I actually kind of like Ryan's take on the Sylvan Caryatid there. Tried to cut him off on blue. Unfortunately, it did not work out for him here.
Yeah. So Reid will have access to Plasm Capture as soon as next turn.
All right. So there is a swamp. So now his second land.
Yeah. To note, last turn Ryan did when he thought he
not play land. Yeah. No land. So I'll take out the Elvish Mystic. And now, I mean, if Reid wants to, he could sit on those Plasm Captures if he feels like that's necessary.
He can sit back on the Plasm Captures. I don't know if he wants to do that because right now, Ryan missed his second land drop, so Reid has the option of really capitalizing on that.
Yeah, but I mean, if Reid doesn't have any pressure, the only pressure really is the Mistcutter Hydra.
And that's so easy to answer.
Exactly. So Ryan, so if Ryan had an Ashiok there, for example, with the land, Reid might have been in trouble.
So both players are really playing off the top of the deck. Reid made a 4th land drop and passed. Ryan still has not found a 3rd land. And finally does with a Temple.
And he decides to put on the bottom. If he's putting it on the bottom, my guess is not a land. Yeah.
Yeah. He probably. The thing about his deck is I think he wants lands up to about 5, and then his deck really doesn't do too much with
he doesn't have like a big spell like Sphinx of Revelation where he could really put a lot of his mana into it. So, Reid with his own temple. He's debating. The Scry is still on top of his deck. And that's going to go on the bottom.
Ryan does have a Syncopate in hand right now.
Yeah, and I mean, the Syncopate could help out, but Syncopate's normally a lot better when you're the one with more lands.
Exactly.
So...
Yeah, we see Psychic Strike drawn from Ryan.
Ryan
land,
pass the turn. Yeah, this is not really the spot that the blue-black mill deck wants to be in. The blue-black mill deck wants to be able to, control the board and keep making this land drops and eventually drop a Jason Memory Adapt, have an Ashiok going or whatnot. But right now, Ryan just has no engine. It's probably because he mulliganed to 5.
Yeah, I mean, the problem is that he's not milling Reid any.
Exactly, yeah. I mean, sure, Reid draws a card every turn, but that's not going to, do too much there. Maybe if it was limited and only 40 cards, it'd be a bit better. But
so Reid made a 6th land last turn, untapped, played Sylvan Caryatid. That untap is really a tell on Plasm Capture. But Ryan not really able to respond to it. He has drawn another Syncopate, so now it has Syncopate, Syncopate, Psychic Strike.
Sure,
a lot of counter magic, but against 9 mana sources from Reid, that Syncopate's going to be hard-pressed to do anything.
Yeah, and Ryan still knows a decent amount of cards in Reid's hand. He knows he has Plasm Capture, he knows he has a second Plasm Capture, and he knows he has a Mistcutter Hydra. So there's another land drop from Reid. And I mean, Reid could just sit back, and Reid could actually set up a turn where he's able to go Sphinx's Revelation with Plasm Capture backup. And, you know, imagine if he had a second Sphinx's Revelation, forget about it there.
All right, so land 5 from Ryan. He's made lands the last 2 turns, still no plays. He's actually just getting beaten to death by Voyaging Satyr right now. He's down to 12.
Yeah, he took 6 points of damage from that, I believe. So
yes, 2 from the Thought Season, 6 from the Satyr.
Yeah, starts with Doomblade, so there's an answer
to
it.
Is he gonna Doomblade the Voyaging Satyr?
I mean, he might have. Personally, I would go down to, you know, 5 or 6 before I actually did anything. Yeah.
So just out of principle.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna the Voyaging Satyr.
All right. So Orion with an island off the top immediately plays it. So, you know, now with lands he actually has access to being able to, you know, do a double counterspell or do a Doomblade with a counterspell.
I think the only card in his deck that has been turned off by this is still the Syncopates.
Yeah, sure.
So the first real play from Ryan is going to be an Ashiok. Almost certain to draw a counterspell from Reid. Yeah. So he's going to Plasm Capture here.
There's a Psychic Strike from Ryan. I believe Reid is going to follow it up with another Plasm Capture here.
Yeah, and does Reid have a Sphinx's Revelation? He's going to double Plasm Capture, and I don't know.
I don't know if he has a Sphinx. If he does, it's so bad for Ryan.
So he's going to have plus 6 mana on this turn. So that coupled with, he has 8, 10 mana, so he has 16 mana.
16 mana,
right
yeah.
now.
All right, so he draws for the turn. Looks like a land he drew. I'm not sure.
So 17 mana for the turn.
Okay, so if he's going to Sphinx Revelation, he probably won't do it for more than like 6 or 7. Oh, there's a Mistcutter Hydra. So it's for 10?
Yeah, no, he's going to Mistcutter Hydra for lethal. Yeah,
oh, yeah,
for everything.
Yeah, exactly. All right, and that's
that'll be it.
Yeah, so just like that, Reid won.
Yeah.
Pretty crazy.
Actually, we knew about that.
Yeah, the Mistcutter Hydra. Yeah, we're like, let's have
Revelation.
I think we wanted to see a Sphinx Revelation. We're like, oh, come on, a Sphinx Revelation
that's
for like
greedy player.
Yeah.
Like the control player just to me